Yes.
You're playing something that we talked about last week.
Yes.
Did we do it justice last week? And also clarify.
Okay, so I gave in and I bought the Metal Gear Solid off of GOG, the PC
Metal
port.
Gear?
Metal Gear. No, not Metal Gear. Metal Gear Solid. Those are different games. I never did play the OG ones, but
They're pretty good.
yeah. So after all the the news stuff we did last week, talking about Metal Gear Solid coming to GOG, and it just got me wanting to play the game again. And it's one of my favorite games of all time. I'm sure a lot of it's nostalgia because I was what year did that game come out? 1990, like 8, 9, 7?
I thought it was 2000.
Really? Okay.
It couldn't have been 2000 though.
Anyway.
No, it was before that.
I think by the time I played it as a kid, I was like 10 or something. But I proceeded to play that game. I think I've beaten Metal Gear Solid 13 times overall.
Dear Lord.
Now, 12 of those times were when I was between the ages of 10 and 12, or 13 maybe. So, that's how kids do. But so I picked up the GOG PC port, which is basically the PC port from whatever year that they did a couple of fixes on and put it on the GOG store, so it's actually accessible now for people, which is cool. The PC port does have some issues. From what I understand, there were a lot of difficulties at the time porting the game to PC, and a lot of workarounds had to be a lot of workarounds and janky fixes and stuff, but they eventually got it working. But there are some known bugs in that port that are still persistent in this version. But I will say that those bugs are not that big of a deal. They're just not. We talked about it a little bit last week. One of the bugs is that they couldn't get all of the music exactly ported from the PlayStation version. So the boss battle music is replaced with the I just got spotted by an enemy music. And then the evasion music, like once you kind of hid from the enemy for a time and they're still in that caution phase, that music just isn't there. It just keeps playing the alert music. But I will say that those 3 tracks, the evasion, the alert, and then like the boss battle music that they use for everything, they're all very similar pieces of music. So if you haven't played Metal Gear Solid, you're not going to notice, and it's not going to matter. As much as I love the music in that game and I like the boss battle variation of that music, even playing it again, I don't feel like I'm really missing out.
So the one issue I have with that is it seems so goddamn arbitrary. It's not like those are licensed music tracks or anything. Like, you got the rest of the music working in the game.
Uh-huh.
Why the fuck are certain tracks missing?
I don't know. From what I understand, they actually had to rip those tracks from a Metal Gear Solid fan site to add into the PC port. Now, I don't know the details, so I don't know why, I don't know what happened, but that's one of the ways they got some of the music in, which is why some of the stuff is missing.
So, okay, I sound incredulous, but what you just said was actually extremely common for older titles. I think only Nintendo was really active about like preserving source code and what originally made up the game. Like, so Pokemon, the battle system in Pokemon Red and Blue is actually lost to time. The only official, like, this is how things work and why they work this way, like, the only documentation is the code itself. So Satoru Iwata, when he was helping out with Gold and Silver to put, and Pokemon Stadium to recreate the OG battle system, actually had to dig through the code of Red and Blue and reverse engineer the goddamn thing because it was just lost to the sands of time.
Mm-hmm.
That happens all the fucking time in old games. So yes, my modern sensibilities are saying, wait, you what? You had to rip the assets from a goddamn fan site? But frankly, that's the reality for most older games, is once that shit's on a disc, you throw away everything that went into making it, which is unheard of today.
Yeah. Oh, right? Yeah. And I didn't actually know that, so I'm glad that you kind of gave me that insight a little bit onto the situation.
It's unfortunate and it's unconscionable, like in the modern era. But it was
definitely.
the reality.
But yeah, so that's not really that big of a deal. The other thing was controller support is kind of weird. So it supports X input, which I guess you can configure. There's configurations in game. The thing that I ran into that was weird was if I have Steam running with the PS4 controller support on that I usually have on, it messes with the game. So I can't bind my R1 button for some reason, and I can't bind the X button for some reason. But if I turn off Steam, I can bind everything just fine. But the directional inputs are a little bit bugged. So if I want to use the D-pad for movement, it doesn't actually let me press more than one button at a time. So there's no diagonal movement at all. So if you're gonna play this on PC, you have to use the analog stick for movement, which works fine. That's not a big deal. But that is kind of a janky bug, I guess. Hopefully they actually work on fixing that. I'm not sure if they are or not. I know doesn't GOG actually mod the games for compatibility and stuff? Okay. But other than
that's one of the reasons why I buy old games on GOG, because they go through an ungodly amount of effort to make it work on modern systems.
Yeah. But other than those two things, so far I haven't ran into any other bugs. It's been nice to be able to save the game on a whim without having to call the mailing on the codec. That's like a little quality of life thing. Other than
like
that,
they added save states.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
Other than that, I mean, it's Metal Gear Solid. It's anime James Bond, right? It's it's been tons of fun playing it again. It's been long enough since I've played it that I still remember everything, but it's just fresh enough that I'm not just bored by it. Like, I'm ready to experience it again, which is cool.